Hello, welcome. All right, today we're gonna finish up attributes and modifiers.
Give them a satisfaction they couldn't get any other way.
So I kind of got some help from Bevy's Discord, just some ideas about how I could better fit sort of attributes inside of an ECS framework. So I've come up with is like essentially modifiers are now entities of their own that are children of whatever they're affecting. So you can see here we have like a parent. And so that makes it pretty cool because we can like sort of stack modifiers as well if we want to in some cases. Probably not everything will be stackable, and we'll have to write some code to figure that out. Like, hey, this entity already has a child entity that has a poison component. Don't apply it again, right? Like if we don't want poison in the stack. But that should be fairly easy to do, I think. Have to figure out a way of getting child entities, but I don't think that will be too difficult. Hopefully. But yeah, so it's basically the same thing as what we had sort of before. I changed some stuff, like maybe poison doesn't always affect health, maybe it affects something else. So I allow you to pass in like a different attribute name, and then it just ticks like it did before, and it has its own system that runs, and then it automatically removes itself or despawns itself as an entity once it can't do anything any longer, based off of sort of the same criteria we had before, which is just like if if our current amount of times that we've ran the poison damage reaches our total number of times to apply the damage, then kick us out. It's pretty simple. Then I also was sort of adding like a curse as well, where this one's a little bit different, where you have like a list of affected attributes. And the attributes look quite a bit different now as well. Made them a lot dumber. Basically, really scaled down a lot on how complex they are, which then in turn allows me to sort of do this sum here. And then we can actually even combine two different attribute lists together using this as well. Yeah, so, and then I wrote a test based off of that, just to make sure everything worked. So you can see here we spawn a player. It has attributes such as health. Here you can see health 100. And then we create like a poison modifier, and then we apply that component to a child entity that's on the player. And then we just call our poison update system, and it takes the player's health down because it can access its parent's attributes. So, and the way we did that is really simple. If we go back to poison, for example, we have two different queries, one to iterate over the poison and the entity, so like the entity for the poison and the poison component itself, and then the parent attribute query, and we get the attributes by using get mute, and passing in the parent entity, which is stored on the poison struct component. So it's pretty simple. It's a little complex to think about, terms of wrapping your head around it, but works pretty good, I think. And then something that we did yesterday as well is we sort of got our enemy skeleton displaying on screen. Didn't really explain that very much. Kind of was a little out of it yesterday. Still recovering from the shot that I got, but today I'm feeling much better. So COVID-19 shot, that is. But yeah. And we added more spawners as well, just to make it a little bit faster testing wise. But yeah, so we can see here sort of what we did there. Works pretty good, although it's still at 0, 0, so we'll want to move it to the right side of the screen, I think. Maybe. And we might move this character in more, like have sort of like more in these areas. But yeah, we want to try to figure out like 3 positions that are maybe 3 or 4 positions that the character sprites can go in, and then 3 or 4 or even 6 positions that the enemy sprites go in. I don't really like this song, so I'm gonna switch to different station real quick. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I think just today we're gonna finish up sort of the last question I had, which is for modifiers, which is, so this curse modifier has an affected attributes. And so a curse is like, for example, you've been cursed and you lose a maximum amount of health for X amount of seconds, right? So like it's based off of time, and once the curse is done, then it gets removed. And the problem is that like how do we combine the attributes? Like this update doesn't really make sense because we only want to update it if it's the first time that this is spawning on the player's attributes, right? We only want to affect those the first time it's spawning, or when it despawns, when the time runs out. And I'm a little unsure how to do that, like in terms of, hey, this like should apply sort of all the time, and then like how does like other systems sort of know that this is getting applied, and how do we unapply it, right? Like once the time runs out, like the player's max health should go back to normal. And I did think of a few ways of doing that, like having like the attributes have like a current and a max, and the current is the value that it currently is at. So you could have like 5 health, get cursed, and then have like a max of 100 health and go down to like say 80 health or something as your max, but you still have 5 health. So it doesn't really hurt you all that much in that scenario, in this particular curse that I'm talking about. But it could be different types of curses as well. So the affected attributes, we have to come up with a good way of like sort of merging those together with the player attributes, and then having a way of undoing that. So I think we need some more information on attributes to do that, like a like an actual max. I don't know what else to call it. Like a essentially like this is your current max, and then this is the maximum overall, and then yeah, that might work. Because then we can reset it. But the other thing too is, yeah, I'm just trying to think about how we want to do this. Like when we sum here, do we, for current max, do we sum it together, or do we do a max like here? I think we want to do max. And we need a different merge strategy for sort of for the poison. Or sorry, for the curse when we're merging the affected attributes together with the player's attributes. So maybe I'll come back to that and just give it some more thought, because we do want to have a good way of undoing it. And we could just subtract. We could just like subtract and then add the affected attribute. Like, so if the curse takes away the max health that you have by 10, then maybe we add that, basically add the whatever this is back to the player attributes once the curse runs out. I think that might work. Sorry, just reading some Discord stuff on Bevy's rendering. Yeah, it's a complex topic. Like, it's not so straightforward as what you would think. And rendering has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years. A lot of things are like more focused on allowing the CPU to be more parallel compared to what it has been in the past. Like with OpenGL, a lot of it was like essentially immediate, where you call draw and it instantly draws whatever you have to the frame buffer, more or less. And it works a little bit differently now, where like you can have command buffers and queues that get submitted to the GPU. Ordering is difficult, and then if you slap like a entity component framework on top of that, it gets even more complex, because the data that the entity component framework has isn't going to align to what the GPU expects very well. Like, for example, if you have like 1,000 sprites, each one is an entity. The GPU is not going to be happy if you try to make 1,000 draw calls. It's just inefficient. So you need like a way of batching all those together. And there's definitely ways of doing that within ECS. Like, it's not a knock on ECS at all. Like, entity component framework is very good for games. There's no doubt about that, but it's not a simple topic. That's for sure. It is something that's complex and that takes care, because you need to do it in a way that makes sense. So I think it's kind of one of the reasons why Bevy's renderer has kind of just been sort of stale. I wouldn't call it completely stale, but it hasn't had much progression recently. And part of that is because the author of Bevy has been focusing on other things, which is good. No problems there with that. But yeah, I think the other issue too is just like a lack of direction there in the community. But a lot of people have different ideas, so it's hard to like, and it's gonna take a lot of time too to write something, to rewrite that rather in Bevy. I know I don't have the time to do that, even as much as I want to. Even use something like graphics, RFX, or whatever it's called. RAFX, the graphics library that one of the community members made. I want to try ray tracing out so bad. Maybe one of these days I'll stream, like, let's use graphics and, like, see if we can get ray tracing to work or something. That's one area where I haven't, like, had any experience with graphics programming. Done a lot of other things, but yeah, that particular, it's new. So, and I didn't even have a card to do it until quite recently, a few months ago at least. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool to just try it out. Real-time ray tracing is pretty cool stuff. Alright, so we sort of have these attributes, and we sort of were creating a way of spawning attributes that are sort of standardized. I think I want to keep going down that road. I think the first thing we need to do is just create some more names for our attributes. Let's go with strength. Now I want poise, because poise is amazing. Luck. I'm not ordering these in any particular way. It's just like the ones that come to mind. I'm just throwing them in the list as they come to mind. Dexterity. So what else do we want? Endurance. Yeah, and see, one thing that's interesting here is that like these are attributes in their own right, but they also affect other attributes, which is interesting to think about. We want to verify that. How would we do that with this current system? Like, if you gain more endurance, then your health should increase. And that should be a modifier. Yeah? Yeah. So maybe not all modifiers are negative. Well, I already had the thought of having like a blessing or whatever, but perhaps attributes in their own right can be modifiers that get applied. In which case they're really just ways of transforming a attribute based off of it. I want to just think about this for a quick second here. So we have attributes, which are things like health. Maybe we should separate attributes out from what we think of other things. Like health is one attribute. Armor would be another attribute, right? Armor isn't a stat. It's like, how much armor do you have? Magic points is another one. What other type of attributes would we have here? I think that's it. These are things that you like, you would kind of see all the time on the battle screen, right? You wouldn't, armor would be more of a hidden one. Let's just throw that at the bottom then. I think one of the problems is that we haven't really defined what we want here. Let's see. Let's make this down. Okay. Now we can just open a preview here. Shoot. Oh, there's space. That's why it's not working. Okay. Maybe have like magic armor here too. Although I think that would just be armor. You just roll like physical armor and magical armor into one thing. Really. Would you do that though? Wait, hold on. No. Poise. Luck. But like poise determines like how often you can get, like you can essentially like, trying to think of a good way of describing it. Like you get your, like you get attacked and you get staggered, right? Like you sort of like get stunned maybe. And poise determines like if you have a lot of poise, you're less likely to sort of get staggered or stunned. Compared to if you don't have poise. And luck is like, that's gonna be more in terms of, we should just write these down, right? We should make like sub points here. How do you do that? Like this? Yeah. Health. The amount of health a player has. That's pretty self-explanatory. Not a player, because we have a party, so character. The amount of magic a character has. I know these are really descriptive, but I don't know, maybe we only need it for things that are like this, just so we remember these ones. The character's resistance to stuns, staggers. Yeah, like if you get stunned, then you can't attack back right away. You have to wait until you're not stunned anymore. And if you get staggered, it's a similar thing, but it's sort of like not as long, right? Like a stun lasts for seconds, stagger is sort of something that's like you get attacked and you can't attack right away, sort of thing. Luck. What do we want luck to affect? Chance to dodge or do critical damage. Maybe not chance to dodge though. Chance to do critical damage. Dexterity. Chance to dodge. But like strength, for example, isn't a attribute. Or is it? It is, because we want strength to be the amount of physical damage that you do. The amount of physical damage the character. It should say chance, not change. Okay, and then dexterity would also be how fast you can attack. I'll have to have some calculating being done for some of this stuff. Like dexterity is just a single number, but it affects both these different things. Your chance to dodge and how fast you can attack. There's definitely gonna be some like balancing we'll have to do there. Sorry, just reading Discord again. Shh. It's look, this game has like a lot of this game I'm creating has a lot of influence from a lot of different places. So it's not just Dark Souls much. Plus poise is so cool. How can you not like poise? But yeah. Speaking of Dark Souls, what other attributes do you get there? I don't want to steal all of them, but I just want to see what sort of the other ones they have. They separate vitality and endurance, where endurance is more the amount of stuff you can take, and your stamina. Yeah, I see. They separate out your health from your attributes as well. You know, that probably makes sense. Like, health isn't really an attribute, and neither is magical power, or these things. Like, I'm not gonna like let you throw points directly into health. That wouldn't make sense. So these are stats, I guess. We need to have a different concept for those. I think what our attributes, what we're calling attributes right now, are actually stats, and we should rename those. But yeah, what do other games do? Like, HP, MP, strength, agility, intelligence. I do want to have intelligence. Yeah. The increases the health of the player and the overall carrying capacity of the party. Like party endurance equals party members endurance added together. Intelligence affects how much magic, many magic points, and how much magic damage. There it goes. Okay, I think I'm inspired enough. I think this is good. Excuse me. So stats are things like health, magic points, physical armor, magical armor. And stats can be affected by attributes and by modifiers. Which really, these are all just modifiers to stats. So then, dive into modifiers. Like, let's just name poison effects. The amount of affects the character's health negatively at a given interval. Character's health. Yeah, we'll say health for now. Alright, and then just a little section on combining. Combining attributes and modifiers to come up with the final stat for a player, a character. Alright, so this is the key part that we need to think about. Like step one. Step one should be pull stats, pull specific stat. Step two, find all attributes / modifiers that affect that stat. Step three, But see, like in the case of poison, it's a little different. And perhaps we should have like different concepts of modifiers. Like this is something that ticks over time, right? Like it's something that happens with time and it affects the health directly. Whereas something like a curse, right? Reduces a character's max health X amount of time. So like poison, for example, even though it affects the health, it doesn't it doesn't affect the stat, like the overall health, the maximum health. And so when you're combining attributes and modifiers and stats, you wouldn't care about the poison modifier in that particular regard. So we need some way of knowing that, yeah, we'll have to figure that out. I think we'll need an enum of all the, we'll need like a component that for each modifier that essentially says what it is. That way when we're on, because we're doing this from the parent, right? From the character itself. So we'll have to pull the child entities and then figure out like specifically what kind of stat it is. Which is a bit of a nightmare. Unless we make it generic enough. Sort of like how attributes already are. And then poison is specifically a modifier. Like maybe curse isn't a modifier, rather it's a attribute, but like a dynamic attribute. Dynamic. Combine. Let's see. Combine together. Example. Let's see. No, I don't have markdown. Do we? Oh, we do. We do have syntax highlighting. Cool. I like that. Alright, let's see. Let's think of a good use case for this. Health stat equals some query dot get. This is just pseudocode, so we don't have to be exact on how this works. For each child in entities, child entities, child entities equals child entities. I just want to like explain it's filtered based off of is attribute X is, there we go. Really not Rust code, but this is just pseudocode. Okay, and this would be this. do we? Those are generic things again, because they don't get applied in non-generic ways. So it doesn't matter. So we just do health stat dot combine. Well, not is here, has there. Attribute or dynamic attribute. I mean, attribute, it's just gonna be one thing, I think. Like the only difference is like a dynamic attribute would remove itself after X amount of time, where an attribute would stick around unless it's removed for a different reason, I think. We don't need to say it's each child, we can just say child. Get component. What if we did it like this instead? Attribute list. Maybe. There we go. I think I like that. So do we want these to be generic? The stats. Why would it need to be something that's generic? We could have stat, that like a struct called stat, or we could have like a struct per type of stat. We're probably not going to have that many stats, and it would be nice to have some way of targeting health specifically within a system. I think I want to do this. This is too much dubstep for me. Alright, let's see. Oh. Like, it's just like a really simple structure here. Like, say value, max, it should be like base health and then calculated health. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. I kind of like that. And then calculated health just gets updated if you get a new attribute or like something changes. Maybe we don't need a separate thing. Maybe we could just do, because really the only thing that's going to change as far as calculated goes is the maximum amount of health. And then that's it. That's all this is. And we can just get some Okay. And then health is no longer an attribute. Strength, poise, luck, endurance, dexterity. Those are all attributes. And they don't have a max, they just have like a value. And they also have a timer. Jeez. New base attribute. No, we don't want the should use timer. No. In fact, all this stuff should be separate because we'll just have another component for that. Because it's an entity, right? So we can have multiple components. So we'll just have a dynamic attribute, or let's call it timed attribute. And then in here we'll have time in seconds the attribute lasts for. What else do we want on it? I do want name here. Attribute. Sorry, like this. I'm feeling good about this, so I don't think we're gonna change it again. Attribute names. Why is it complaining? Default. Okay. Sure, we'll make the default be endurance. Why not? Okay. Last time 64. So timed attributes can run out. Yeah. I know that we can do this in a different way using the addition, subtraction traits and stuff, the overrides, but I think just having a function works just as well. Okay, we'll just call this new. No reason to call it new base. We could have function create, which takes a commands. Actually, in this case, it's always going to be a child, so child builder and mute child builder. Let's just start. Base here. We don't need a max. Stats will have max values. Okay. And we might still add a max later on. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for watching while you could. Alright, F32 value. And we need the name too. Just a little helper function to help make this easier. Oh, you know what? Let's just use the constructor. There we go. Oops, child or builder. My bad. Alright, and then that's bad. And then this would be function create timed value 32 time F64 spit out itself there. Okay, child builder not spawn insert attributes. Well, we could probably just call this actually. How do we get the? We probably want to return what this returns, which is an entity commands. Isn't it like muted, mutable to and mute? Yeah. Maybe we can do more with it if we want. And then we need to specify a lifetime here because it's not smart enough to know that it's gonna survive. I think. Right, that's not gonna work because this is creating it. We can just say it's static. No, it's not gonna like that. It's fine. I don't want to go too deep into that and try to fix it. It's not a big deal to do it this way. Insert timed attribute. Well, we should at least return the entity ID, I think. Oh, speaking of entity, we'll need entity here. Just parent. entity. Okay. And then all this is just trash. And so is this. I mean, we still want to do this, but it's not going to be like this. I'll have to figure out what we're going to do here. And this can get deleted. Because essentially we need an entity. And we definitely need commands here. So this would be like the player entity. And then we don't need to return anything. And really all we have to do is just call create base. Strength value 1.0 for now. Wonder if we could loop this. Nah, it's fine. Just hard code it. Were these all the things that we sort of came up with? Poise, luck, dexterity, strength, endurance, intelligence. Okay. Strength, poise, luck, strength, endurance. We need intelligence, and we'll have to figure out like what good default starting values that will be for these. Like, probably be different depending on what type of class the character is, I would imagine. Or maybe we just start them all off at one, and then you can sort of build your own class by changing the different things. Like if you want like a mage, right? Like you just throw more points into intelligence so that they're really good at spell casting. That's an option. And I want to sort these lines. There we go. And I want to sort these. Do that. That's fine. I won't sort those. I want to, but I'm not going to. Alright. Okay, cool. Attributes no longer exists. An attribute is now not done like this anymore. Attributes instead are children, so we want to call build basic character. Pass the player in. Commands. We actually don't have commands. We have world in this case, but we do need the command queue. So throw this up here. There we go. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Pull it in from here. Can I do that though? Yes. Okay. Health is no longer a thing because it's a stat, so we have to rework how poison works. But we can at least address some of this other stuff. So if we wanted to check to see I don't want to delete all that actually, that's my bad. Want to apply it here. Delete the rest of this. Okay. So world.entity player. How do we get the children? It's probably done with the query, right? Like so push children despawn, accessing the parent or children. 0. Okay. So we do need a query here. Can I query? No, but I can with commands. So commands player. How do you query again? I forget though. Wait, no, it is world, isn't it? Query, there we go. I'm just making sure my syntax is right here. Yeah, I think. And then yeah. Not exactly right. Perhaps like this instead? Yeah, okay. Without defining query. Alright, that makes sense. Yeah, so next up, change this query. And we want the player which doesn't have any identifier right now. Oh, cool. Insert player. Type. Alright, alright, we renamed it to character, that's right. Okay, so character. Children. These are ands. This is character, which we don't really care about that. Can we do width? This is a good use case for width, right? But it's done more like this. Yeah, okay. And then you just do child dot get child dot. Oh, wait a second. Oh, right, because okay, I see. These are the children, not a single child. And the reason why that's more than one is because I'll explain it in a second. Hold on, let me fix this. This isn't the correct syntax for this. Hold on. How do I do it here? Is there a different query? Query filtered. Ah. There we go. Okay. So like we're finding all the characters that have children. So this first thing is giving us a specific character's children, and then this is giving us a specific child on that children list or whatever. So makes sense. Okay, so child dot get is not a thing. Is this because this is an entity, right? Okay, I see. And then we have another query. Let attribute query equal query. And here we would have and attribute. Oh, there's no default for that. That's fine. Just remove default then. Oh, that's a bit of a bummer. We could just do new here though. Let's rewrite this some stuff. We don't want to do it like that anyways, but we'll rewrite that. Okay. And world. And the entity is the child. Could get more than one, right? Because we're gonna have more than one attribute. Oh, but those are different children, right? Okay, I see. So that should work. Dereference. Okay, and then we can assert attribute dot value. Oh, we have to unwrap it. Assuming is okay. Equals 1.0. Alright, so we're not going to be able to run this yet, but let's clean up some of this other stuff. A lot of code that we're going to have to rewrite. Okay, and this is different now too. This is more like this. And then we pass in commands and parent, which in this case is the enemy. This is, oh, it's already in mute. Okay, so that's fine. That character. ID. Let character equal. Okay. Now we should be able to run cargo test. In this particular case, it's an and mute commands. Passing a reference to it, a mutable reference to that function. Alright, cannot borrow attribute query as mutable. Does it have to be mutable? But why is get mutable there? That's weird. Didn't think the query had to be mutable in that case. Strange. Whatever. Okay, sweet. So it worked. So we just basically did a little test that says, okay, we've added these to that player as child entities, which have their own components. Yeah, I like that. We still have to fix up poison now, and stats. Stats is going to be a completely different thing. We've already started sort of coming up with a stats API that we want to use. But yeah, calculated max is just like what we'll use for everything. Maybe instead it should be just max and base max. Yeah, I like that. Base max is just like what it starts out at. And then calculated, and then max is just the calculated maximum health that you have, which is calculated based off of a lot of different things. Modifiers, attributes. I mean, technically, a curse could be a, well, a curse is definitely a modifier, but it could have attributes as children. You could have, at the very least, it could have a list of attributes. And then we can just combine those. We do it only once, so. Oh. Excuse me. Sorry. When do we calculate the attribute, like the maxes here? I don't know. When we need them? Do we just always calculate it? Be like, okay, I need the max. Calculate. In which case, maybe having, you don't even need a base max really. The more I think about this, like max is just always calculated. In which case, maybe we just have like a function that does that. I kind of want to, I kind of wanted to store it, but like we kind of need to like calculate it every time we need it, I think. Because it could have changed between calculations. Ugh. Excuse me, sorry. Alright, let's just add health to the characters. Insert. No, put it in the wrong spot. That's my bad. Like I'm really thinking that there's just no max health here. Like we just always calculate it. That just means we have to pull in a lot of stuff to calculate it though. Like if we have this system that runs that manages like if you get hurt, for example, we'll have to calculate it there. And that's just like a lot of annoying code we'll have to write to do that. A lot of different queries. The other option is we could calculate it and store it every frame. That might work. What would that look like? Update max health. Query health. Query and mute, and also we want and child, children. And commands. Similar thing to what we did in, let's see, here. We want to pull the attribute query in. Okay, and so we don't need commands really yet. If attribute, that is okay. If attribute, well, attribute. If attribute name is equal to endurance. Oh, we could do a change query here. I forgot about that. Yeah. Dexterity. Why is that? Endurance. Alright, and how do we want to calculate maximum health? That's a good question. We don't want like a linear output. We want like something that grows with time. Get the calculator out. So if we like have 1 endurance and we times that by, let's see, 100 to the power of 1. Just giving myself a quick math refresher. Okay, yeah, we get 100, and then, but 100 to the power of 2 is like way too much. Like if endurance is 2, right? Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Too much. I think we want a logarithmic. Do I have that here? Logarithmic? Yeah. So 100 log is 2. Oh, I see. So it's like some constant value. So 0.0472 power of, if it's 1, not very much health at all though. It's not exactly what I want. What if it's 2? I mean, maybe that's what we want. Oh my goodness. 1.04712. I mean, that number could be really anything. That's just what they're using in the example. But, so you have 10 endurance. So, 712. 100. I don't think that grows enough for my particular taste. We'd still have to like increase that bit. Like, what if we did 1.5 to the power of 100? That's a ginormous number. Okay, that's better. And then 1.1 1. That's not really what I'm looking for. Oh, max level. Logarithmic. See, I kind of want it to look more like that. You got like lots of growth initially. Other than maybe that'll just make it boring late game. And this is more about how it should grow over time, not how we calculate like the max health. For that, I think we should just use something really standard, like oops, that's pretty close to what I want. It's gonna grow too big later on. Times 90. Oh, times 50. Ooh, yeah. So our calculation. Oops. Close that. Our calculation is gonna be 1.1 to the power. That's not actually a thing, and don't know why that's not a operator that you can use in Rust, but whatever. Attribute value. Order of operations should be good to just do this. Times 50? Did I say? Yeah. So if you have let's say 1.1 to the power of 100 endurance. That's a really high number. That might be like too high. Another option would be to think about it more like this. Spread again. Next 10 power 2. So let's clear out again. So if we have 10 endurance divided by 10 to the power of, is it 2? Yeah. It's just going to equal 1 times 100. 10 endurance equals 100 health. Okay. But how does that work when you have 100 endurance divided by 10 to the power of 2 times 100. I think I could live with 1,000 health if you have 100 endurance. I think I like that better. So we could also use something other than divide by 10 times 100. Oh, I needed to use POW F. That's why it wasn't working. Is there a POW F2? No. There's no like shortcut there. Yeah, that's just the spell checker complaining. Okay, underscore that. Okay, so if this is 10, we have 1, and then 1 times the power of 1, or 1 to the power of 2 is 1, so you have 100. This is 20, you get 10. Well, you get 2 to the power of 2, which is times 100 might be wrong there. Like, hold on. Yeah, because if you have 20 endurance, divide that by 10, the power of 2, that's 400 health. That's quite a lot of health, like right off the bat. That's way too low. If you have 100, 50, power of 2, 4 to the power of 2 times 100. And that definitely grows differently. Maybe linear is just what we want here. Like, what if we think about it like that? Like, okay, endurance of 1 is 100 health. That seems a bit off. I don't want it to be 100 health. So we make endurance of 1 50 health. Endurance of 2 is 100 health. Endurance of 3 is 150. Doesn't really make sense either. I just want x plus 10 to the power of 10. Oh, that looks really weird. Divided by. Oh, what did I do? Divided by. I hate their use of syntax here. There we go. I think to the power of 10 is not what we want there. Oh, that's very linear. And then the other one was like 1.1 to the power of x. Divided by 100. X. Maybe not divided by 100. Okay. So, like, that's not very great either. What's just linear? So we want like a curve that's like, oh, we're zoomed in way too far there, but we want a curve that's like that. Like the further you are along the x, the higher your y is gonna get, right? Like so it just goes exponentially. Oh, kind of better. It's pretty hockey graphy though. Hockey sticky. Like, pretty sure we want one that looks more like this. Not opposite. Maybe. No. Not quite. And if we did introduce max levels, Guess what we want is green. Maximum level is 100. Yeah, it doesn't know how to do that though because it's like we can do it here though and just see what it calculates. Or we could just also do the math in our heads for different things. Well, with the calculator, I'm not gonna do it in my head. What is Z in this case though? Oh, it's that hard-coded number, like 1.1. Um, Alright, so if we use this, let's think about that for a second. Okay, so 1.1 to the power of, let's say 1 minus, well, hold on. 1 minus 100 minus 99, yeah. So 1.1 to the power of minus 99 plus 100. Besides the like super long digits, that's not bad. Alright, but what if you have something else? Oh, I see you reverse that negative too. Okay, so like say we have 10 minus 100. So it'd be 90.1. Wait, aren't these just like, this negative cancels out with this negative though? Right? Power of 90. Plus 100 does nothing in this case. I don't know, let's try just quickly making a test for this. Copy this. Max health test. Let health equal 10. Endurance equal 10. Let health equal. Oh, we're calculating max health. So max health is equal to negative 1.1 F32 pow F minus attribute. Maybe the plus, I think it's supposed to be like this. Yeah. No? just need to assert something here. That's gonna fail, so we can get the output. Oops. I could do no capture too on the test, but that's fine. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So that's obviously not right. This double negative here doesn't make any sense to me. Just do it this way, right? Yeah, and then, alright. Let's break this out. We're definitely doing something wrong. Okay, it's like backwards. I don't get what the plus is supposed to do. I kind of get what this is doing, but I don't get what the plus 100 is supposed to actually do. No, this was definitely right before. Minus 100. Because the more endurance you have, the smaller this number gets. I get that now. Alright. But this should lead to more? Not less health. What? Pretty sure it's supposed to be like this. Like 80% sure. Because it's getting reversed essentially. Man, my brain is not working today. Okay, okay. This is just simple percentages, right? Like, kind of. Let's do it this way then. Okay, yeah, that works. And then times it by 100. It's not a steep enough curve yet, but we can change that by editing this side now. Like doing it like this. Yeah, it's still not steep enough. Like, probably like that. Like 100 should be like way more than that. Let's also get a test for like 1 endurance. I'm gonna see what that looks like. Alright, that's not bad. It's just really like heavily like the, well, maybe that's fine. So 40 is like 256. What's 50 then? Should be like exactly half of whatever the max health is, which is 1,050. But it's not. So the curve is pretty strong there. What about like 80? How close does that get us? That's not terrible. We have 0 health, mostly. 0 endurance gives you that. I don't think I want that to be the case. If you have 0 and you divide it by 100, that's not a number, right? Or is it the other way? Oh, it's 0. And 1 times 100, okay. What? I was trying to make it so that if you have endurance 0, you have 0 health. I think I need to take this. That's 100. That's what my problem was. Bad. Okay, but now we just need to make the curve like 10 endurance should be quite a bit of health. That makes it way too much health at this side. How do we fix that? Not like that. we do that, we have to do this. So that doesn't make any sense. I just wanted to see what would happen. I think. Fuck. Maybe? Maybe? Not quite. Oh, that's not what I want. Log. Okay. Negative endurance. Oh, inverse endurance, right? Darn it, not the right way. Hold on. If 100 endurance is max, we can just do it this way. Okay. Oh, we just gotta get rid of infinity. Maybe. Maybe cheat. There we go. Alright, so 0 is 136 health. That's kind of high. We can shift that down a little bit though, perhaps. Not like that. Too much shifting down. Slightly shift it down, please. Okay. Okay, but there's still like a huge gap between here and here. I'm gonna it to be slightly curved. Maybe I just use the green function. Let's keep that, and then let's try this. Wait, C would be what? Some random number. Cool. I think the plus 100 is supposed to go on the outside of this. Oh, max health equals 0. Okay, give me the output, please. You. Okay. Yeah, pretty sure this is supposed to be like this. Okay, hear me out. The spread of numbers is more what we want here. So if we take this, then times it by 100, add it by 100. I mean, your max health should be 0 if you have 0 endurance. Let's be real. So times it by 100. Too much by 10. Okay. Alright. And then what's a max health of 1 now? I like that spread of numbers a bit better. Like 20 health? Yeah, that's okay. If we times it by 2 instead. Hmm. 10 was better. If we make that more. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. You can also use different values here, though. Doesn't like that. Not a number. Probably because... Why would that be not a number? 1.0 minus 100 is like a negative number. Power of 1.5. Whatever. It's fine. What about for 5 endurance? Okay, so that's basically like 100 health here. And then we could do some rounding too. That round. We round to the nearest, like, tens place though. Oh, we could cheat and do it that way. Round. value times. We would want to do actually the opposite, right? This is so weird. Round probably 10 times 10. That works. Alright, what if we have some weird... Excuse me, what if we have like a weird health value like 27? What does that give us? Okay. I'm okay with that, I think. If we start throwing decimals in the mix though, I don't want to do that, but what if it's 5 point whatever? Yeah, it just rounds it out. Okay. Alright, so I think this is what we want to use. And I'll throw this here. It's gonna complain if this isn't public too, I think. Use super. Don't want to expose it. Nope. Oh, that's ugly. I mean, we probably should just call this update maxes or something and just run through a bunch of different things here. But this isn't the only thing that we'll have to sort of take a look at for maximum health. There's going to be more here. Because we're going to have to calculate like modifier max healths too, like curses. That shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think. Just have a new query inside of here that deals with that. Okay. I know this isn't super exciting, but it does help us try to figure out how we want to calculate that. Yeah, I don't know if I like the rounding. Makes it too exact. what if I have 99? What does that give me? Like 999? Gives me 1,000. I'm gonna drop the rounding. Yes, that's better. We could just round by standard convention to the drop decimals, which is like this. Wait. Huh? Oh, right. Yeah, 1 decimal place. Let's keep that. Yeah, hundreds for 2 decimal places, and then you can do 1. It doesn't really make sense though, but yeah, basically the number of zeros you have is the number of decimal places that you have after you round in that kind of scenario. Okay. And we'll just assert something that's true in this case. So our test at least works. Alright, what to do next? Well, we have this health stat. We have a maximum health getting generated based off of that. I think we want to try to get the curses working. The thing is, like, we're gonna have to make different kinds of curses because some curses might affect. Actually, we could just have curses affect your endurance, and then. But that means we need to calculate endurance as well. We could just do that with a calculate value. This is in ECS, it's just so much harder to think about, like in terms of structure, I think. Because like systems that we have don't run. They're not like now. They're like parallel. So we could make them like instantaneous systems, but that doesn't, like exclusive systems. So I don't think that really makes sense in my opinion. I wonder if there's a way of getting like a system to run once per frame, because I know this changed. Oh, well, we could just do change. We were gonna do change. What happened to that? We just forgot about it. Okay. Does it work like this? What did we do changed? Oh, it's part of the filter. I see. So in this case, it would look something like changed health. But we don't wanna change this based off of the health. No, we want it to change based off of an attribute. This means that whenever an attribute updates, this function would run. This system would run. That's not the worst thing though, right? Get rid of this thing here. I don't think that's the worst thing that we could be doing here. And I think we want to call this update stats, max stats or something. But yeah, what doesn't it like about this? Explicit lifetime required in the type of attribute query. Oh, it's not supposed to be an and here, that's why. Okay, so we should be filtering the attributes based off of whether or not it's been changed. And if it has, yeah, huh, I like that. No, that's okay, that's a very ECS way of thinking about it. Ah, no, that's really nice. And then we can do something similar for when modifiers change. When a modifier changes, then it could update the attribute. Which then when the attribute updates, then this max health would update. Sort of like chained together that way. I like it. But like it says here, we do have to be careful of the frame delay, 1 frame lag. I think we're fine because combat is going to be quasi turn-based, sort of. What I mean by that is like you're only gonna get cursed once per frame. Like once per X frames, really. It's not gonna be even once per frame thing, right? Because the combat's like not. You could get cursed by 2 different people, but then you'd have 2 different modifiers applied, like stacked on top. In this particular case, we're saying that attributes can only have one, like our health attribute can only have one attribute that it calculates the max health from, which is fine. So curses would affect attributes, which would look a little differently from this. Yeah, okay, so back to attributes. we have a value and we have a base value. And base value is going to be equal to value. And base value is what's going to change. Well, value will change too, but base value is what's going to change when you like upgrade and level up. Alright, well, I need a quick break and then I'll be right back. And we're going to continue on with this and implement a similar system for modifiers. I'm not exactly sure how yet, but we'll, for attribute changing modifiers, that is. But yeah, I will be back shortly, just like 5 minutes. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Alright, so we need to figure out next steps. I think poison is great. I don't think I want to change it really all that much, except to fix it up so that it works how we expect it to work. Despawn, yes. Because the poison is its own entity as well. So most of this is still good. It's this part where it affects the health of a certain object that we need to fix. And this should just be health query. Health. And there shouldn't be an attribute name anymore. It's not really how this works anymore. We can implement it for different things, like if it's like a similar type of thing. Health query. Don't need to get the attribute. Health. Makes all this stuff a lot more simple. Health. Value, I think it is. It is private. Oops. Stats, health. I want to make these public. Cool. Now we should be able to go back to here and do a couple different things. What do we want to do? Need to insert health for this character. And one thing we should do in this health update, max health, is if health max is if health value is greater than health max. There we go. So basically we just cap off the value of the health depending on the new max value. You know, let's just have like an apply on the poison. So like we have a new, let's have like a apply parent and the seconds. Oh wait, this wouldn't even return self, right? Okay, and we also need. Why is this complaining? Expected colon. Yeah. Child builder and child. just child builder dot spawn dot insert poison new poison, spell it right. Parent damage total. We should at least return the entity, I guess. No, this is fine. Okay. And then here we just do with children. Child builder. Poison. Y. Child builder. Parent is the player. Seconds 0 because we're testing this. Damage is 10. Total is 0. Okay, cool. Alright, that's 0. Okay. Down here we want to run system and mute world and update poison update system. Alright, so before we run that though, we want to check the player let's see, world.entity there it elf dot unwrap here how equal assert their health equal to 100. Player health dot value and then it should be equal to what, 90? Oh, it's never gonna apply, my bad. One time, apply it one time. Cool. Alright, so we have that modifier down. Now curse modifiers. Alright, so the way we had talked about doing that is coming up with a new type of modifier which changes attributes based off of, like, gonna have a list of attributes that it affects, and it's going to change them based off of those. Yeah, but we only want it to do it once, so like on change, on the curse change, because curse is a component. Let's hold off on curses for right now. We'll come back to that. We have basic modifiers working here. We have attributes working. One thing we do want to check is we haven't actually run the stats update max health yet. Update max attributes is what this should be called, and we need to move it out of here and into here, because I think it would make sense to do it here instead. and then here we can test it. So we can do that just by asserting that the value is 1. And from our previous test, we know that a max health of 1 is, let's see, is it 1? Max health of 5 is roughly 97 health. Got about 10 more minutes here, and then I'm gonna have to call it quits. But let's at least implement this last test, and then I will push the code today. So all this will be available. Let's just call the system first. Update max attributes, stats. Should be stats, not attributes. My bad. Alright, still doesn't know where it's coming from though. Stats. Okay. I actually want to change the attribute as well. Let's give endurance of 5 by default, which means that we should have 97.5 here and 87.5 here. Nice. Yeah, so let's add some comments here so it kind of explains what we're doing. Here, verify that. Wait. Hold up. How is this working? It's assert that, but you can't. Wait, what? Did our queries here not work? World.query filtered with character. Okay, so we should get into here, right? Like, got here? Question mark? No idea. But we can get there, right? Yes. Okay, so our query isn't working. Oh, it's because it's with the and here. That might be why it's failing. I think with doesn't like the and in that context. Okay, so yes, it's going to fail because one of our assertions here is incorrect. If attribute dot name equals attribute names endurance, then it should be, else it should be go. Okay. So now this actually works. So I can actually say verify that attribute values are correct. Set on the player on the character entity as child entities. Update all of the attributes so that the max stat values are expected. Are values we expect. Max health should be equal to 97.5 with an endurance of 5. Runs the poison update system, which should pick off poison damage on the player health once. And points of poison damage applied. Alright, let's test that out. Okay, we called update poison again, but it failed. It should store health. Basic attributes. No 8. Saying it doesn't have. Query does not match. Huh? What? This did work before. Oh, because one of them's the poison. And it's not gonna have the child. It's not gonna have a attribute. I see. Okay, okay. No, this makes sense. If attribute is okay. Oh, oops. Attribute equal attribute dot unwrap. Alright, that should fix that issue. That was just because we have the poison child. Okay, cool. And then it's just failing now because our true equals false is just impossible. Alright, cool. Well, I think that's a really great place to just sort of wrap up for today. We didn't really make any major changes to how the game actually plays. Like if we run cargo, run, release, it, for all intents and purposes, it is exactly the same build we had a couple days ago. But from a coding perspective, and even from a gameplay perspective, we figured out some really important key pieces to how characters have sort of attributes and how they have modifiers that affect those attributes and the stats that go along with those as well. Attributes being things like endurance, luck, poise, and that sort of thing. And the map doesn't render right anymore, but that's a bug. Anyways, so like the attributes are things that you sort of have on the player which affect different things, and the stats are like actual values like health magic points, that sort of thing. We'll probably have like a damage stat as well. That way when we're calculating things, we can calculate this is how much damage the player does, and then if anything changes, it automatically changes that damage stat. And that actually would get applied for everything. Like we can reuse the same system that we're building out here for enemies as well, which is the sort of beauty of the system. Like it's not just meant for our characters, like our party members. This is a sort of an all-encompassing system that we can use, which is nice. And these systems that we have created, the actual entity component systems, make it really easy to sort of run over and make decisions based off of what the values are. All right, but yeah, sorry about that. It was just somebody was at my door. Yeah, so I think that's it for everything for today. I will make sure I get this code committed and tagged. I will call it probably like day 10/11 for the GitHub tag, since we didn't push any code up yesterday. Things were like really rapidly evolving here. And most of the code that we wrote yesterday just doesn't even exist anymore. It kind of does in some places, but a lot of places it just doesn't. Yeah, like for example, weapon is just like this empty husk of what it was before. Not that it was much before, but yeah. So I think we'll expand more on this concept next time. I think either Monday or Tuesday I'll come back. I might take a break. It's 2 days of streaming, so I might take a break and come back on Tuesday. We'll see. And then, yeah, we'll just keep doing the same thing here. We'll try to make it more entertaining next time, though, perhaps by actually rendering some like interesting information to the screen on the battle screen. Like we have the player, we have how much health the player has. Let's render that to the screen. Let's get it like displayed. And we can either just render it as text for right now, or maybe we can even look into like a UI type system, maybe. UI. Oh, let's keep the UI for later. We'll just render some text to say, here's what the player health is, and here's what the enemy health is, and we'll go from there. I hope you enjoyed this the stream. I know we didn't really do a lot of like actual like visual things, but like really getting the groundwork done for this means that later on we're gonna be like less pulling things apart, if that makes sense. All right, well, like I said, I'll be back and then either tomorrow or Tuesday, so I hope you enjoyed the stream, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.